Hey there guys, and welcome to another Vinland Saga Manga review. This month we got an amazing chapter, chapter 182. A really short chapter, not a lot of things happened, but this felt like peak Vinland Saga. This was so deep, it was thought-provoking, it was what really got me into Vinland Saga to begin with. You had this really powerful, really strong characters, personalities clashing, and different ideologies being presented. In this case, we had a lot of talk about war, about conflict between like Thorfinn and Eyvar. We had a really nice sneak peek of King Canute, what he has been doing. Canute is back. Just for one panel though. So let's get to it. Let's see what happened. Okay? So we begin in a weird situation because last time we left off we were looking at Arnhide's statue. Well, now we're not. The chapter begins with Thorfinn, Bug-Eyed Thorfinn, Hild, and Eyvar in some kind of ship, and they're kind of exploring the land around Arnhide's village, right? So they're exploring the land, and Bug-Eyed Thorfinn makes the observation that, guys, we're actually in an island, because he sees that the currents are much different, and at the western side of the island there seems to be no current, so it's probably an island. Which I think this is the case if we look at the original camp. I don't know where I'm going to put the image, but anyway. So what happens is Eyvar is, as soon as he hears, okay, this is an island, he starts to think about how they can best protect and prepare for an attack. Because if you're in an island and you don't have means of at least leaving the island, there is no way to, there's nowhere to retreat, basically. There's nowhere to go. If someone attacks you and you don't have enough ships, you're trapped in this island. Alright? And technically speaking, you can also defend the island if you see an attack coming. You can get into the ships and protect your people while at sea. And perhaps stop the invaders from ever setting foot onto the island. This is a very logical thought. This is a very logical thought process. But as always, Eyvar has the wrong way of presenting it. He talks about fighting. He talks about war. And there's this like really interesting conversation there, because I mentioned in my previous video, I don't know if you remember, guys, Thorfinn is literally running out of ships. He's sending all these ships to do all these little stuff. He's left one ship at Markland. He sent 3 other ships to get resources from like Iceland or whatever. So there's just one ship. And we learned that there's at least 40 people there currently in Arnhide's village, which leads me to believe that is too many for one ship. There's no way you can put 40 people in this Viking longboat, you know. So if they were to be attacked at this moment, they'd be dead. They would either have to leave some people on the beach or literally risk capsizing the boat and everyone drowning. So Eyvar is right, you know. Eyvar is right here. And only that, he asks from Thorfinn 2 very simple things. He's like, give me a worker and a carpenter, and that's it. Half a year, I'll get you another ship. Right? This is the literal minimum amount of men he could have asked. He asked for 2 men. Right? This is the literal minimum. So his demand is not excessive. He doesn't ask for the entire village to start preparing for war or something. No, he just asks, hey, while you're working on the crops, give me 2 men and I'll make another ship. No. But Thorfinn seems to refuse this. He thinks like there are other priorities. And this is such a ridiculous and silly moment. I read a lot of comments on the internet after this chapter was released, and a lot of people hated Thorfinn's reaction to this, how he's literally endangering everyone. But from his perspective, I can understand that if he allows people to start thinking about war and about conflict, soon enough they're gonna start to build weapons as well. Because okay, you have the ship. What are you gonna fight with? I mean, you can use the ship to ram other ships, but that's just that. You need arrows, you need swords, you need weapons. So, and he's not gonna allow that. But had Eyvar phrased the whole conversation a little bit differently, had he said, Thorfinn, we need to have a means of escape. Right now, we don't have enough ships. We need to build more ships. In case anything happens, we can at the very least get everyone out of here. You don't want to fight? Okay. How about self-preservation? And I feel that's when Thorfinn would have taken a step back. But Eyvar, being Eyvar, is like, no. He constantly thinks about war. I really like Eyvar in a sense. He's not that dumb, you know? He's not that smart either. But he seems to be a lot more bravado than actual violence. We haven't seen him really do anything violent thus far. He's been talking a lot, and you know, he's been brandishing his sword back in Iceland, but he hasn't really done anything. Like, for all we know, maybe he's just a scared little man. He seems scared, like he doesn't know what's gonna happen. You know, he's in this foreign land, following this man who's never met, in this impossible journey. So I think all of this anger comes from a place of uneasiness, insecurity, of like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if we're attacked? You know? And that's really nice characterization. He's not a one-note, you know, villain. I really thought Eyvar would be somewhere in the background, always scheming and plotting. But no, he's not. He's with the group. He's with Thorfinn. They're having conversations. He's at least trying to understand Thorfinn. That's great. That's something, you know. Because after they have this little conversation, Thorfinn asks, you know, do you like it? Do you like war? And Eyvar goes like, you're just the odd man out. All men, you know, love war. And Thorfinn says, well, I know a man who used to be a real wimp. And, well, now he kills people every day. And he's, at first I was like, who is he talking to? Is he talking about himself? About Thorfinn? No, like that's the exact opposite. No, he's talking about Canute. And Canute, well, at this point he is conquering Finland, historically speaking, if we were to go by the dates that we're given. So he's in another war of conquest. After England, he's set his sights to another country. This is not mentioned in the manga, but it's alluded to. And it really, we have this really cool panel of King Canute from the back. You cannot see his face. I wish we got to see his face, his redesign. God, why Yukimura? Anyway, but at least we got that, you know. We got a mention from Yukimura that, yeah, I haven't forgotten Canute. Yeah, so, and Eyvar is not able to understand who Thorfinn is talking about. He's kind of perplexed. Thorfinn does this kind of like riddle kind of thing where he says like, oh, this man, he doesn't have to fight this war, and yet he does, but he hates the war or whatever. And then we have this really, really interesting final panel where Eyvar goes to sleep and Thorfinn, the two Thorfinns basically, are having this little conversation about how actually Bug-eyed Thorfinn is more dangerous than Eyvar in terms of war. And this is a really cryptic message and really cryptic way of talking. I don't know why Thorfinn mentioned this, but I've been trying to figure it out. I think what Thorfinn is trying to say here is that a person who likes war, like Eyvar, he's gonna start a war, he's gonna fight, he's probably gonna die, but he's gonna do it in, I would say, a more traditional way, as in more, I don't know, ritualistic or traditional. Like, he's gonna fight because, well, we have to fight, you know. Whereas a person who doesn't want to get into a war, if he is put in a situation where he has to take part in a war, there's no way to know at what lengths he's going to go to either end the war. There is this hint of like a person who potentially fights for an ideology, to protect an ideology, whereas Eyvar doesn't have an ideology. He just believes war is something that happens, people fight, people die, that's it. But a person who doesn't believe that and is placed in a situation where he has to defend something, there's no way to know. There are a million ways he can reason with himself to continue fighting. What Canute has been doing this whole time, he's been trying to build this utopia on Earth by uniting all of these lands and becoming this supreme ruler or something, right? So there is an ideological reason between Canute's desire for war. He doesn't like war per se, but still, he's not willing to end war because of an ideology. And this is kind of convoluted, and it's not perfectly explained in the manga. I want to hear your opinions. What does Thorfinn mean by all this? Did I interpret it well? Yeah, what do you think of Thorfinn's attitude towards the whole building of the ship? What do you think is going to happen next? We know for a fact that they're actually going to meet the natives in the next issue. Because at the bottom of the final panel, it said something, something, our settlers will meet the natives in the next chapter. What's going to happen? Who knows? Will our little group arrive late, and perhaps the natives have already introduced themselves and they arrive in a weird situation where the settlers cannot communicate and the natives are getting agitated? Is it possible that Eyvar does something silly? I genuinely don't want this to happen, though. I really want Thorfinn to learn about, the nature of war. I want Thorfinn to do everything in his power to not start a war, and then have the pettiest reason, the pettiest thing, cause a flame, cause a conflict between the two groups. I don't want Yukimura to take the easy way out and have Eyvar or someone else literally go and stab a native. I want some conflict that will begin due to Thorfinn's mishandling of the situation. Now, I want to hear what you guys think, and really this chapter was great. I loved it. I wish every chapter was like this. Stellar art, characters talking about their views, their worldviews, their ideologies, and in-depth conversation about serious issues. I wish every chapter was like that. And I wish we're going to have more conversations like this between these two characters in the future. So, guys, leave your comment down below. Tell me what you think. I have a ton of videos on Vinland Saga if you want to check them out. All the theories about what's going to happen. Vinland Saga ending theory. Vinland Saga Canute ending theory, if we're ever going to get an ending to Canute's story. The Bug-Eyed Thorfinn theory, where I talk about how he's probably going to replace Thorfinn. Yeah, so check these out. And I guess I'll see you next time, guys. Have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and well, until next time, fellow settlers.